going. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangam Langayate Girim YatkrapatamahamVande Shri Guram Dinataranam. Okay, Hare Krishna, welcome all. We are in the third canto, the status quo. So let me share my screen. Let's do a bit of a recap on how the flow is going. Hopefully my screen is visible. And from there, we'll actually take up today's chapter, which is chapter 25. So quick recap, what are we seeing? We saw, uh, not going back all the way to Jaya Vijaya story, we'll just come down to the story that's led to all this, which is after the conversation, we came to the conversation of Kardama Muni getting married to Devahuti. We saw that Kardama Muni was in his ashram uh, on the Bindu Sarovar, and then Devahuti was the daughter of Swayambhava Manu. So if you can see incompatible relationship, an extremely rich girl and a hermitage owned person who is Kardama Muni, they get married, and Kardama Muni also puts on this condition saying that as soon as I have a child, I will actually live and go. Then we saw this chapter 23. I think I was given the service of describing a few things in chapter 23. Why would Devahuti lament? And we saw how wonderfully Devahuti actually was serving her husband. We learned about the relationship of how the wife should serve her husband and what are the advantages of that, and how the husband has to be qualified enough to reciprocate on the services that she is providing. So after that, Kardamuni was very happy. He built a wonderful palace temple, the airbound palace, not temple, I'm sorry, the palace for her, and they lived there for a few years. After this, Devoti was taken care wonderfully well. So after receiving all this, she started lamenting, saying, "What am I doing here?" She had her children, initially the girls, when Kardamuni wanted to leave the house. She did not allow, and then they finally had a wonderful male child, which was Lord Kapiladev. When Lord Kapiladev was born and a little old enough, Kardamuni said, "Now I am going to vacate." So this is what we saw in chapter 24. We ended our conversation last class on that part, right? So we saw how wonderfully system messed up. Just give me a minute. Okay, sorry for that. So Kapila Dev and Kardamuni having that conversation, wherein Kardamuni says, "Okay, I will have to renounce now," and he requests for permission. And in response, Kapila Dev actually talks about the Sankhya philosophy in a bit, and Kardamuni then happily renounces the house and goes, and Kapila Dev decides to stay back with this mother. So we saw till there, and we'll move on to today's chapter. And the chapter name itself is very wonderful. This is the glories of devotional service. So that's where we are. We'll jump into the shlokas. Okay, so we'll start with the first shloka. Shaunaka Uvacha Kapilastattva Sankhyaatha Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Chatah Swayam Acha Shakshad Atma Pragnaptaye Nrinam. Nrinam is a very nice important word here. Okay, let's show the translation and purports for all the other shlokas by Shivang Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So translation, Sri Shaunaka said, although he is unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took birth as Kapila Muni by his internal potency. He descended to disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race. Purport, The word Atma Pragnaptaye indicates that the Lord descends for the benefit of the human race to give transcendental knowledge. Material necessities are quite sufficiently provided for in the Vedic knowledge, which offers a program for the good living conditions and gradual elevation to the platform of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one's knowledge expands. On the platform of passion, there is no knowledge, for passion is simply an impetus to enjoy material benefits. On the platform of ignorance, there is no knowledge and no enjoyment, but simple life, almost like that of a animal or like that of animals. The Vedas are meant to elevate one from the mode of ignorance to the platform of goodness. When one is situated in the mode of goodness, he is able to understand knowledge of the self or transcendental knowledge. This knowledge cannot be appreciated by any ordinary man. Therefore, since a disciplic succession is required, this knowledge is expounded either by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself or by his bona fide devotee. Shaunak Muni also states here that Kapila, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, took birth or appeared simply to appreciate and disseminate transcendental knowledge, simply to understand that one is not matter but spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi, I am by nature Brahman, is not sufficient knowledge, but understanding the self and his activities. One must be situated in the activities of Brahman. Knowledge of those activities is explained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Such transcendental knowledge can be appreciated in human society, but not in animal society, as clearly indicated here by the word Rinam for the human beings. Human beings are meant for regulated life by nature. There is regulation in animal life also, but that is not like the regulative life as described in the scriptures or by the authorities. Human life is regulated life, not animal life. In regulated life, one uh, only can one understand transcendental knowledge. Okay, this one shloka is actually sufficient for a full class, but we will actually do the summary. So please go back and read through all the Srila Prabhupada's purports here. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamahim Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajiv Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prayashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Thank you all for joining in. The wonderful Vaishnavas here. Please bless me so that today morning's Bhagavatam is something that all of us can understand together. Okay, quickly looking at this chapter flow, because like I said, this is a wonderful chapter, and we are very fortunate to actually hear the second half of this chapter from um, Tirtha Chaitanya Prabhu, if I'm right, very senior Vaishnava. The second part of this chapter actually talks directly about the glories of devotional service, parts of Bhakti Yoga. That's wonderful. But what's the flow for to the chapter, right? So there are 44 shlokas in this chapter. Shaunak Rishi and for that matter Vidura are going to, as usual, ask questions. So Shaunak Rishi, before he asks question, he glorifies the person whom he's speaking to. In this case, he's going to glorify Kapila Dev, about whom we are going to speak. So Lord Kapila Dev's glorification for a few shlokas. Then Mother Devhuti asking her questions. What does she realize? She understands that she was provided. So if you go back to previous chapters, chapter 23, she was lamenting that have I lost the opportunity of associating with Kardamamuni and looked at it from a material perspective. And that's where the question of, Are, where we am going to get this knowledge? And I'm going to get a wonderful son who's actually going to give this knowledge as promised by Lord Brahma. So she remembers all that, and she actually places her first question, is what we will see today. For that first question, she puts forward a few points, and then how Lord Kapila answers this question and sets up the very concept of the supremacy of bhakti over all the other processes of jnana and yoga. And from whom are we supposed to get this wonderful knowledge? And he talks about the association of sadhus, lavamatra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. We'll actually see if we can cover a few things and the characteristics of and activities of a sadhu. So this is what we'll cover. It's just the first half of today, going all the way till chapter shloka 23, time permitting. And then the next part of this chapter, I would definitely like to set up, because whoever is joined here, do not miss the next class, because the next class will actually talk about a sadhu's association and how one can gradually lead one's life. We'll set up the concept of Adhyatmika Bhakti today, is a spiritual life today, but how that leads all the way to Prema Bhakti. What are we practicing jnana or yoga incompletely, and how bhakti is that ingredient that makes it complete. Actually, can we speak about it? Then obviously when the concept of bhakti comes in, and Kapila Devi is actually talking a lot about Sankhya philosophy. So Mother Devoti actually places for the next set of questions. Uh, we said first question today, but questions 2, 3, 4, which is what kind of bhakti will easily be attained? How do I explain jnana yoga and other limbs of yoga systems? And what is recommended? What is Bhava Bhakti, or the spontaneous love of Godhead, will be explained by Lord Kapila Dev, answering to second question and other sets of questions which will take us all the way to why the sadhana bhakti and the greatest benefit of offering one's mind to the Lord in pure bhakti. So this is what we will actually see as a flow in this chapter. I'm hoping the flow is nice. You have all understood the concept. So let's jump into today's shloka. So we have already seen this. Shaunak Muni, Shaunak Rishi and others on the banks of Naimisharanya, they are asking this question. So that, wow, this is very nice. So Lord Kapila stayed back with Mother Devahuti to take care of her mother. We saw that in the previous class, wherein we said that it's the responsibility of the son, a grown-up son, to take care of his mother, while it's the importance of the male of the family to renounce the responsibilities of decision making in the family at a certain age. Okay, at the age of 50, which the father of the house, when he has a qualified son who is old enough to take care, he has to stop making financial decisions, family decisions. Okay, practically he is supposed to renounce. He has to take up vanaprastha. So within the society, within ISKCON that we are in, how do I understand with Krishna consciousness? How do I understand? Well, at a certain age, you'll have to understand that, okay, it's not necessary for me to earn anymore. It's not necessary for me to actually set up uh, uh, family planning items. So I'm supposed to renounce, pass on the patent to the next generation. Okay, so we saw that Kartamuni, how he took up uh, his spiritual life being the most important part. He said, okay, I'm out of it. Whatever was my purpose, because I was supposed to get a wonderful child who is the representative of the Supreme Lord himself, or he is the Supreme Lord himself. That's what the Sharakrishi is saying. Oh, Kapila Dev is born, he is the Supreme Lord himself, right? With all his internal potencies, he's appeared here. And why has he appeared? For the benefit of all human beings. Here, the importance is given for Trinam word for the human beings. He is going to give this transcendental knowledge, and he is going to remove the knowledge or remove the ignorance that is caused. So the purport was very wonderful, right? So there are obviously the modes of nature is described here. What are the three modes? The goodness, passion, and ignorance. In the mode of goodness is when you get this knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. In the mode of passion, what happens? Our knowledge is so much material because it's going to be knowledge for my sense gratification. I'm looking at all the elements that are going to help me enjoy my senses. By default, it is how is my senses getting satisfied. What does it mean? Even when we come to Krishna consciousness, even after we have spent a few months and years in Krishna consciousness, if we are still looking for sense gratification, either in my spiritual life or sense gratification outside my spiritual life, I'm extremely in the mode of passion. Ignorance is when we typically have people using the person, I don't care. I don't care. God exists. I don't care. Spiritual life, typically when we go and preach to people outside, the first reaction is, why do I need God? I don't care. Yes. Do you accept God? Yeah, I accept there is some power, but so what? They don't want to know more because the moment they get closer, then they have to start following certain rules and regulations. They have to stop feeding their senses, and that becomes very difficult. So, what is the purpose of the Vedas? The purpose of the Vedas is to clean up this ignorance. So, for that, what you need? You need association, you need books, you need to chant, you need to follow a proper diet, and more importantly, I've said the ABCD, all of us know, most importantly, we need to have a desire that I want to understand this knowledge. I want to understand who am I, self realization, who is God, Bhagavan realization, what is the relationship between me and God, the concept of bhakti. The moment I understand, I have to act on it. Otherwise, I have not understood. That means if I have to act on it, that means I have to wake up early. I need to spend time chanting. I need to spend time coming to temple, associating, hearing, speaking. My spiritual life has started. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. I have started my spiritual life wonderfully. And all this will depend on the fundamental concept, which is what? My faith in the system. Ado Shraddha. This whole thing starts with Shraddha, that is faith. When I have faith, I start doing activities. When I start doing activities of Shavanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, any one of this or all of this, then automatically my faith becomes stronger, right? So it is a two-way thing. I start with faith, and as I continue, my faith becomes stronger and stronger. As my faith becomes stronger, my services become sweeter. My services become serious. My services become sincere. The more sincere and serious I am, the stronger is my faith. And we come to a platform from where we can be confident by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga that we will not fall down from here. There are going to be no situations materially that's going to take me away from Krishna. Okay, is setting up the very context of what is transcendental knowledge. What is the benefit? This is for human race, right? So we saw this. It's not easy for animals to pick it up. It's because for humans, we are supposed to follow a regulated life. What does regulated life mean? We'll just spend a moment here. Regulated life means I know when I'm sleeping, when I'm getting up, when I'm eating, what are the activities that are there in my day typically, right? So does it make it regulated life? Well, this makes it a normal life. A regulated life is when I add the element of the Lord also into it. I give exclusive time for the Lord, exclusive time for Srimad Bhagavatam, exclusive time for chanting, exclusive time for coming to a temple, going for yatras. I give time for the Lord. Slowly, what happens? I give my life for the Lord. There is time for my other things that are supposed to be taken care of. That comes when we advance. And further advancement is I don't need anything else, but everything is for the Lord. Okay. So a human being progresses this way. Animal rarely does this. Okay, so the knowledge that we are going to hear or get is on this. And now, of course, the important concept of this shloka itself was they're glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is appeared as Lord Kapila. He's Aja, he's unborn, and he's come with all his potencies. We'll continue reading from what Shaunaka Rishi is talking. Shaunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. Nice point again. Um, no one knows more than the Lord. No one is equal to the Lord. Obviously, the Lord is the Lord. But knowing that is not sufficient. Knowing that and worshipping because he is the most worshipable person. So even if you look at Bhagavad Gita, when you actually go to the bhakti concepts, that's chapter 7, chapter 8, you will see when Lord Krishna is talking about demigod worship and so on. He says worshipping demigods is not wrong. If you're intelligent enough, that will automatically lead you to the most worshipable person who is none other than me. Right? So it's automatically the most worshipable person who is the Lord himself. And he is the most mature yogi in this case, obviously. Lord Kapil Dev comes as a yogi. Okay, so we are going to hear from the Lord and we are going to hear about the Lord. So that's what they're saying. It's actually a pleasure to hear about the Lord. Okay, we'll hear a few more things about hearing about the Lord in a bit. Okay, so we have seen he's the most worshipable personality. Let's keep moving. Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency. Okay. Now, this please describe all the activities and pastimes. So, Prabhupada says that this is very, very important. This please is Anukirtaya. Okay. And how should we describe? We should describe following in a parampara. What's coming in the described in the parampara system. Not any concocted idea, not any, oh, this can be like this, the Lord does this, maybe like this. No, none of those. It is actually what is described as is. And where are we described? So we will talk about the guna and the leelas of the Lord. Right. So that is called progress. Talk about the qualities and the activities of the Lord. We'll touch upon it in a bit as we actually hear more. Okay. So Sri Suta Goswami said, the most powerful sage Maitreya was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. Okay. So now you see that Shaunak Rishi is actually asking, Shaunak Adi Rishis are asking these questions to Suta Goswami at the forest of Naimisharanya. And Suta Goswami says, well, you know what? The right way to understand knowledge is submissively inquire from the senior authorities. And in this case, Vidura was doing the same thing, wanting to hear more and more. So we saw how the inquisitiveness in Vidura is actually making Maitreya very, very happy because he's able to speak more and more on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the transcendental relationship. The more inquisitive you are, more knowledge you get. Because the Lord will make all the arrangements. Okay, otherwise, Bhagavatam reading, every day I should read. Huh? So every day the same thing. Srila Prabhupada keeps saying, you're not the body, you're the soul, you're not the body, you're the soul. Every day I hear, you get bored. But when you read it, being inquisitive about, wow, God is so wonderful. He does so many varieties of Leela and he has got so many wonderful guna. If you keep understanding, then you will start relishing more and more. Actually going there. So here Maitreya Muni is very pleased by Vidura's questions as well, Vidura's inquiries. So he's going to continue describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovara to please his mother, Devahuti. So, so continuation of where the story stopped in the last chapter. So Kardamuni takes permission from the family. He says, now I have a grown-up son. I'm ready to take on. So like I said in the beginning of the class, Lord Kapiladev is now duty bound and he accepts his duty to take care of his mother while his father goes away. And we saw the responsibility of a grown up son because now he is supposed to take care of the family. That means he is supposed to take care of the family responsibilities. When our children start earning and we are old enough, that means we are 50 years old at least, we should start planning. How do I do? How do I take up what? Vanaprastha. And Vanaprastha doesn't mean you have to always go to the forest. Your Vanaprastha can be taken in your household life. The lesser and lesser you're involved in your household affairs and more you're involved in your spiritual affairs makes your life Vanaprastha. Right? You're not there to take care of decision making like I just mentioned, right? So I'm not worried about the finances and so on. So at what age I should do? Shastrically 50 years. What is the practical age I can do? I do not know. You will know your situation better. Ask your spiritual authorities, plan for it. When you're younger in Krishna consciousness, you should plan for your spiritual progress. This is what I was told when I came in. I was in my 20s, and I was told by 45 you should have a plan. Ki, when will I retire? What are my financial needs post retirement? How will I take care of my parents, my children? What will be the medical emergencies? To what will be the educational needs? What will be my spiritual needs? You should start planning. Your Krishna consciousness life is not devoid of common sense. And once you have a nice plan, automatically things will fall in place. You have your plan, tell it to the Lord. It's the Lord's plan that will always work. Your plan cannot be independent of the Lord. You cannot say, I will buy 1 acre of land, I will build a farmhouse, I'll do a world trip, then I'll take up Krishna consciousness seriously. No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying how minimalistic life. I mean, we have already seen this in the first canto of Bhagavatam, right? Kunti Devi's prayers, where we understand that how minimal should be my material life for me to progress spiritually. Because the focus is spiritual life, not my material life. Okay. And when Rupa Goswami says give 50% to Krishna, 25% for emergencies, the rest of it is what you use. Practically apply it. See how you can practically apply it. And that's how your life will move on. So anyways, we'll continue on. Kapila Dev now has taken on the responsibility. What is his responsibility? His responsibility was to protect his mother. How will he protect his mother? We'll actually see it. When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words of Brahma the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows. So, what was the protection that Kapila Dev was giving her? He was protecting her from the material situation and giving her the ultimate goal of life, which is attaining the Supreme Personality of God, its service unto the Supreme Personality of God. So Devahuti remembered, so this comes in the earlier chapters, right, 22, 23, where Devahuti was promised by Lord Brahma, saying that you will have that son who will actually give you the transcendental knowledge that is required for you to attain the absolute truth. So she remembers all this, and now Devahuti is speaking back. So Devahuti said, I'm very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Okay. From here, we will start seeing our material situation. Okay. So here the question and answer is, what is temporary pleasure and or what are the pleasure situations of this material world? So Devoti understands that the situation that I have here is temporary. The pleasure and the pain that you see in the material world is temporary. Asat Indya Darshanat. Asat is not Sat. Sat is eternal. Asat is not eternal, which is temporary or impermanent. Indriyas are senses. Okay. For the satisfaction or for being agitated by the temporary material senses, I have wasted my life. I've been very sick of these disturbances that I've got. She's thinking, I had such a wonderful opportunity, right? So of associating with such a wonderful person like Kardama Muni, but I have not used that association properly. I've used that association to what? Enjoy material things with him. Now, this is an important point. What is temporary here? Is our life temporary here, permanent here? Well, the same situation is is always temporary depending on how our mind is placed. Let's look at a very simple, nice story. There was a very rich businessman. He had a huge factory, and his entire wealth was the factory. And he had two sons, and both the sons said that, "My dear father, the factory is doing very nicely. We have all the money there. What can we do? Can we sell off the factory, take that money out, and we will invest in our own specialized businesses?" The father had his arguments. He did it for some time, and then he decided, "Yes, why not? Let's sell off the factory." So they find a party to sell off the factory and they decide to actually go ahead with the selling. So when they do that, they said, okay, it's a ठीक and they were progressing on the factory's re-registration to the new buyer. It's not yet happened. The registration is not yet done. That night when this person was sleeping, early morning, he gets a call. He wakes up and the call is from his second son. He says that, Papa, come over to the factory. There's a there's a bit of a situation here. So he rushes and he sees that the entire factory is on fire. He sees that the factory is on fire and he's very, very devastated. He sees that this entire property of mine is burning away. And people are trying to turn it off. There are a lot of things happening, but he sees that right in front of his eyes when his elder son comes there. Elder son comes there and says that, don't worry, Papa, we have insurance. So his situation, complete devastated situation, has now become, okay, well, I've lost my factory maybe, but I've not lost the wealth. The second son says that, sorry, Bhaiya, we did not renew the insurance because we are planning to sell the house. What happened? The situation again turned black. It's like, oh no, my entire wealth is burning right in front of me. The son says, no, no, but we have already had that decision to sell this factory, right? So the new buyer's problem it is. So the father says, oh, okay, we have already sold the factory. Very nice. Second son says, no, we didn't sell it, right? The agreement is not yet done. Again, this person feels bad. Suddenly, what's happening? His situation is turning left, right, left, right. The first son says, but you know what? The buyer is an Ambani. For him, this is just a chiller, right? So he will definitely go by his words. He's promised to buy the factory. He will keep his promise. Again, the situation turns. What is he seeing? It's the same set of people who are watching. It's the same factory that is burning. But how is this? How is the situation turning? How temporary you can see, right? So his mind is very unhappy that the factory is burning. His factory is burning. Then because the insurance covered, he's like, okay, it's the insurance company's problem, not my problem. We have not renewed the insurance. Oh no, my problem. My factory is burning. Oh, there is a buyer. Not my problem. It's the buyer's problem. I'm a viewer. I'm just viewing a factory being burnt. No, no, he is not going to buy. Oh no, my factory is burning. So the situation, it's the same situation, right? So externally, it's the same situation. All of them are standing and the same factory is burning, but the mind keeps going, mine, not mine, mine, not mine. Both pleasure and pain situations are the same. In fact, Srila Prabhupada mentions many times, I think it was today's quote, which I was reading this morning, where Srila Prabhupada mentions that you cannot have a material pleasure situation without being accompanied by pain. It's only the transcendental situation or the spiritual life that can give you absolute pleasure, but everything else in the material world is temporary. Uh, uh, Pleasure is always followed by pain, or pain is followed by pleasure. So you're not eternally going to be happy or sad in your material situation. And Mother Devotee is mentioning this. For this temporary thing, I wasted a lot of things. And what are all these for? Asat Indriya Tripti or Asat Indriya Darshanat, right? So just for satisfying my Indriyas, my senses. So whenever we are planning, we should understand, is it for my material situation, or is it for my sense gratification, or for spiritual situation that I want to attain the Lord? And as Krishna conscious devotees or sadhaka bhaktas trying to be Krishna conscious devotees, we should always put this into perception of how I understand even my spiritual activities. Is it for my sense gratification, or is it for the Lord? Many of, I'm hoping, all of us, many of us had an opportunity to actually write our offerings. Yesterday, Horace initiated His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Guru Maharaj, or writing our offerings to Srila Prabhupada during his Vyas Puja. When we have this opportunity, every year it is mandatory. It is not an option for all sheltered, for all Prabhupada Ashraya, for all sheltered and initiated devotees to write their offering. What does it mean by offering? The offering is, what have I done this year for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga? My dear spiritual master, my dear Srila Prabhupada, here are the things I have tried doing by your mercy for your pleasure. Why am I saying this? Is when we write it down, we understand that have I spent the entire year doing things, enjoying Krishna consciousness for my pleasure, or relishing Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of the Lord? We keep hearing servant of the servant. Have I done that servant of the servant? We keep hearing preaching is senses. What have I done preaching for preaching? Have I stood on the road and done book distribution? Have I have I brought in a new person to the temple or into Krishna consciousness? Have I spoken or am I wonderful Bhagavatam? I am enjoying Bhagavatam. Am I on that platform? Okay. We are all Goshtyanandis. We are supposed to stay that way. We are supposed to be in the association of devotees. We are not Bhajananandis, not ideally Bhajananandis. Right? So understand, if I'm doing it for my pleasure, or I'm doing my Krishna consciousness because it gives me a lot of pleasure and protection simultaneously, so it is more pleasurable, or am I doing it for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga, taking on difficult situations? Yesterday, Sumantra Mataji was mentioning this, right? So I actually like both the points when we were talking offline, and then she actually brought these points as well, where she said that as soon as you surrender to a guru, as soon as Arjuna surrendered 2.7, the situation absolutely changed. It changes for your benefit. The moment you come under the shelter of a guru, your situation completely changes. What does it mean? You take the shelter of the guru sincerely and seriously. Keep using this word sincere and serious again and again, right? We take it up very, very seriously. It's not just for joke, right? So I also have a guru. That's not a rubber stamping. And when you're writing your offering to your guru, you understand what have I done. That becomes important. And there are going to be not so very pleasurable situations, right? So the porcupine example that was even saying that when the porcupine family is together, their thorns actually poke each other. But when they're away from their family, they just can't survive. So irrespective of pleasurable, not so comfortable situation, we should be in devotee association. There should be not a moment we should think that, oh, this is becoming difficult, I will live this, because eternally we are going to live with devotees. If we can't live with devotees here, what are we talking about eternally staying with devotees? Okay, so introspect, go back and figure out if you are in association for the pleasure of the Lord, or in association in spiritual life for your own pleasure. So very nice point there by Mother Devahuti. So we thought we'll elaborate on that. Okay, let's continue. Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. The situation is very, very simple. The situation is what? It is your Maya, you have captured me, it is your responsibility to get me out of it. Right? this particular purpose. It says we have our eyes, but without the light of the sun, our eyes are not of are of no value. Similarly, without the light of the Supreme Lord, or without the divine grace of the spiritual master, one cannot see things as they are. Right. So Srila Prabhupada keeps mentioning this, saying that our spiritual master's association or surrender to our spiritual master is extremely, extremely important. Okay. Take the instructions of the spiritual master as life and soul. That is why Srila Prabhupada was so successful. That is why there are so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada who are so very successful. Right. So take them seriously when the when you hear or read from the acharyas. Please understand this is for our eternal benefit. Let's continue. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and the Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to decimate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of ignorance of the universe. Right, Lord Krishna himself. The quote on top of every Back to Godhead magazine, right? So Krishna, Surya Sama Maya hai, Andhakar, Jahan Krishna nahi, wahan nahi Maya Radhikar. So Krishna is light, Maya is darkness. Where there is Krishna, there is no possibility of darkness being available. So any material situation that we are in, it's usually in darkness unless we are understanding that it's for Krishna's pleasure. Then there is enough light to take us back. Okay. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion due to my feeling of false ego. I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and the and consequent bodily relationships. Okay, so again, we are holding on to Maya. She understands that she's got this aham mameti problem, me and mine. That is why she's been here. Right, so all of us have to understand this. Is a very nice shloka. This reminds me of a very nice pastime that we keep discussing, right? So, due to my feeling of false ego, I've been engaged by your Maya. Right? So, we are in the service of Maya until we want Krishna. Okay, what does it mean? So, many of us would have heard the story of Kailash. So, I'll keep it very, very simple. There was a wonderful, rich, miserly person called Kailash. A very nice house, lot of wealth and everything. But he was very conjuice, right? So he was a very miserly person. So one time he had his pious activities, and as always, the gurus are very, very, very merciful. So Narad Muni comes to Kailash and says that, okay, you have everything that is required. Your material situations are all fine. So do you want to come back to Godhead, come back to Vaikuntha? So because when the Kailash says, no, no, I have to take care of my family. My children are very young. I will stay here for some more time. So Narad Muni comes back again after a few years and says that now your children are old enough. They can take care of the business. Why don't you come over? He again has his reason. He says, no, 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 no. My children are old enough, but they are very irresponsible. If I give it to them, my entire wealth, they will eat away. So I cannot come now. Narad Muni comes back after a few more years, wherein Kailash is very old, not able to take care of anything. He says, why don't you come now? You have nothing else. Your children are taking care of the your business and everything. He says, no, no, actually they are taking care of everything, but I have a lot of wealth. I can't give it to them because they have a lot of qualities that they will waste his wealth. The children are desperately waiting for the father to get out of this world. Like, अरे तुम मर गया तो at least पैसा मिल जाएगा. You know, we should never get into a situation where people are waiting for us to die, right? So that became Kailash's position. He's on deathbed. He's still not ready to come back. He dies because of his attachment. Me and my wealth, my factory, my children will not be able to take care. He was born as a dog in the same family. So he's as a dog, he was not. He was taken care like a dog. He was there in the family, but kutte ka life hai. Narad Muni comes, says that come back. He says, no, no, you know what? I have got some wealth that I'm protecting as a dog also. and I'm taking care, I'm seeing everything. You see, look, my children, my grandchildren, everyone are around. Okay, long story. There are multiple versions of this story. So, anyways, dog also dies in some years. Now he's born as a snake in the backyard of the same house because he's hidden a lot of wealth under a tree in that house. No, Narad Muni comes. What horrible life you have got. You have got a life of a very envious animal, like of a snake. Why do you want to stay here? I'm giving you this opportunity to come back. That snake Kailash now says, no, 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 no. I am still protecting the wealth because if my children know this wealth exists, they will waste it. Now the children know there's a lot of wealth that their father Kailash initially had, but they don't know where he's hidden it. He's just left only the bare minimum for them. So Narad Muni says that this person will never understand. This Kailash will never understand. Let me do one thing. So he straight away goes to the children and says, you know what? There's a lot of wealth under the tree at the backyard of your house. The children go there. They see that there's a huge tree and there is a snake that is around the tree. They bring a couple of laborers, beat up that snake, take away the wealth. What did Kailash do his entire life? At every opportunity that he had got to go back, he actually wasted it. And he lived the life of a dog, lived the life of a snake, and died miserably with zero success. Right? So there is zero success in material life, irrespective of how much effort you put in. That's why our effort should all be for transcendental life, for spiritual life. That's where you should put your effort. The devotees wake up very early, go to Mangalarti, do their 16 notes, spend 2 hours, 3 hours every day. Not very easy, but because they are doing it, the Lord in the heart, right, the Paramatma, He understands. And wherever you need, whatever situation you are in, He gives you the right understanding. From Him comes the remembrance and forgetfulness. Now, how do I forget what is not needed in material life, and how do I remember the Supreme Lord? That also comes from the Lord who is sitting in you, sitting in our hearts, right? So we should pray. Mother Devahuti is saying that I see that I've wasted my life, and as sadhaka bhaktas, we should not waste, but we should desperately pray for the Lord's mercy to actually progress in spiritual life. Let's continue. Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as the relationship between man and woman and between spirit and matter. Okay, so Mother Devahuti is continuing her questions. So she understands that she has to be free from Maya. So who can cut the deep-rooted attachment to the material world? Only the Lord or his true representatives. Why can we not stop glorifying Srila Prabhupada? He changed the hippies to happies, right? Completely materialist to wonderful spiritual authorities today. Okay, this deep-rooted attachment to matter can be cut off only by the representative. That's where the importance, the most important piece of surrendering to a spiritual master comes in. We can't directly surrender to the Lord. We can surrender to the Lord only by his true representative. And he will give you the difference between matter and spirit. He will change your life, right? So there is a complete 360 degree, sorry, 180-degree change over that you will get as soon as you surrender to the spiritual master. For that, what do we need? We'll see in the next shloka. Because Maitreya is going to talk about it. Maitreya said, after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her questions, and thus his face smiled. His face smiling, he explained the path of transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization. So, what is most important? Uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization. Okay, we all have our desires. That's why we are all here in Krishna consciousness. How contaminated is it with matter is what we only know. We know, and the Paramatma knows. And when we go in front of a Guru, the Guru knows. The Guru knows us inside out. I was reading about Srila Prabhupada. There are a lot of Srila Prabhupada memories that his disciples have given. So if any of you are not yet connected to those memories, please do read it, because there's such wonderful nectar that the devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada are sharing about their relationships with Srila Prabhupada. So that so devotees who are not speaking, please be on mute. I'm getting a bit of a feedback. Okay, so there was one devotee who actually went to Srila Prabhupada and says that, Srila Prabhupada, we heard that you know all your disciples. Srila Prabhupada had quite a few disciples, right? So Srila Prabhupada said, yes. Well, we also understand that you know them completely, even though you don't see them or interact with them every day. Srila Prabhupada was very grave and very silent. He did not reply back to this question. This actually, we should understand that our spiritual master actually knows us inside out, right? So as soon as you go in front of your spiritual master, as soon as your spiritual master thinks about you, he actually sees all the contamination that you have inside you. He sees right through us. It's not about how nicely I'm dressed, nice tilak, I'm chanting in front of everyone, Hare Krishna, I'm a wonderful kirtaniya. No, 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 no. What is in your heart? The true desires that you have. Some or other I should stay in Krishna consciousness, but my material life should be very comfortable. Is that your desire? Irrespective of how difficult it is in Krishna consciousness, I don't want to stop a moment. Is that the right desire? Right. So that is our choice. And that uncontaminated desire that we have for transcendental realization gives us the Lord talking to us directly or through his representative. That's what is happening here. My Muni has led that one question of devotee saying this, Aham Mameti is killing me, what should I do? And Lord Kapila is going to speak. So Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of God had answered. The yoga system which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system. What's the highest yoga system? You already saw temporary of this material world and the ultimate benefit of spiritual world. If a person can understand these two, you can relate these two, then that is the highest yoga system. Okay, that knowledge of self, of the Lord, and the relationship between the self and the Lord. Bhakta, Bhagavan, and Bhakti. O most pious mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system which I explained formerly to the great sages. It is serviceable and practical in every way. Okay, so very nice important point, which says I'm going to give you an ancient yoga system, which I've explained formerly to great sages. That means this knowledge or this Vedic knowledge is eternal. There is nothing new. You don't need to create anything new. There are no new yoga systems that needs to be created, right? We don't need to invent anything. Everything exists by itself. All these are actually present. So if you look at this yoga system that we are going to talk about here specifically is the Adhyatmic Yoga, right? That's a description that in the material world, one cannot have unadulterated happiness. Any kind of happiness one has is contaminated by distress. For example, if you want to drink milk, then we have to bother to maintain a cow and keep her fit to supply milk. Actually, Srila Prabhupada actually mentions that in the previous shloka. I'm sorry. Right, so he says drinking milk is very pleasurable, but for the sake of drinking milk, one has to accept all the troubles of this material world. Devotees might have heard of this, right? So everything that we try here, even at a yogi level, sometimes is very difficult. So we need to understand our situation. The typical example that I can remember is obviously of that wonderful yogi who was doing his meditation in his hermitage. He had nothing under a tree. which he had kept for himself, each night a different tree, whatever he was doing. So he was chanting in one place in his hermitage every day, every time. He was meditating on the Lord. And there was a mouse, small mouse, that would come and keep disturbing. He saw this mouse very disturbing his meditation. So as always, while he was talking to others, they said that, well, you know what? Just get a cat. As soon as the cat is there, the mouse will run away. So, wow, very nice. Okay, let me get a cat. So he got a small cat. He kept a cat with him. So as soon as the cat came in, the mouse stopped disturbing. I was very happy. His meditation continued. But now the cat is disturbing. Cat is like, meow, meow, give me milk, give me milk. He's like, acha, now I need to give milk. So those days, how do I get milk? Obviously, I need to take care of a cow to get the milk. So he gets a cow. There is a cow. There is milk. He's getting, so he's able to take some milk, give it to the cat, continue his meditation. Now the cow needs care. Cow is asking for food, you know, water, the cow's protection. Says, "Arey, this is getting a little difficult. What do I do?" People say, "Arey, बहुत simple hai. Marry. The lady will come. Ladies love to take care of cows. So that girl will take care of the cow, and the cow will give milk. The milk will be fed to the cat. The cat will take care of the rat. Your meditation is आराम से हो जाएगा." So he gets married. Now the lady is come. What was the original situation? Meditation disturbed by a small rat. Now meditation disturbed by all his life. Irrespective of male or female here, this is a male-centric story. So as soon as he's married, the demands of material life has increased. He has to start providing for the lady, for the children, for taking care of one cow. He is supposed to do a lot of things. Now, this is what we keep doing. We feel that there is only so much trouble, and we start investing for that, for that, for that, and automatically it goes to a situation wherein we suddenly realize we have put so much into our material life that my meditation is almost stopped. I'm not even going further saying that his wife, then his children, then he had to work to earn for them. No, so like that, we bring in those material situations, right? So sometimes devotees do a lot of financial planning, and they say that, "Arey, I've got a house for EMI. Now my office situation has become very difficult. So now I need to, I can't withdraw money. I put it in fund. I put it here. I put it there." You only bought the situation. If you did not want a 1 crore house, don't buy a 1 crore house. You need to know. And what are you doing? You're not taking away your money. You're taking away Krishna's money also, because you're not giving time to Krishna. Neither are you able to do services, nor are you able to do contribution. And then sometimes when I talk to Kripa and Prabhu, who takes care of matrimony, he says that, "Arey, every time the boy comes and says that if I have to survive in Bangalore, I need a qualified, educated, working, nicely earning girl who is surrendered to me." Arey bhai, hoga kaise? Correct? You want all these qualities. Why will the girl be subservient to you? She's earning, she's studied like you, she's earning like you. So you're not thinking right. Not that not that Matajis do that. Matajis also have their demand list, but that's for a different story. But we create the situation, material situation, we invest in it, and then we don't have time for transcendental knowledge. Okay. Oh, most pious mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system. We just saw this, right? So this is coming in parampara. There is nothing new that gets created. The stage in which the consciousness of the living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called the conditioned life. But when the same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation. Right. So we started with the very first shloka, we spoke about the three modes of material nature. Only in the mode of goodness, the transcendental knowledge goes in. Till then, you're just hearing. And as that goes in, you can elevate yourself as you progress, as you progress, as you progress. We can elevate ourselves to a Jivan Mukta stage. Even in this life, I can become liberator Srila Prabhupada has very elaborately spoken about it, saying that it's your consciousness that matters, not your physical situation. The same situation, two people reacting differently. And there you're tested. Every time you're tested, understand that either Maya Devi is testing you to get closer to the Lord, or Maya Devi is welcoming you to become closer to her. And what you choose is your free will, it's your choice. The Lord never forces you to surrender, it's just our choice. When one is completely cleansed of the impurities of lust and greed produced from the false identification of body as I and mine, and the bodily possessions as mine, one's mind becomes purified. In that pure state, he transcends the stage of so-called material happiness and distress. Right? So this kama and lobha, this greed and lust, as long as I have, I'm going to stay here. The more lustiness here, lust means need or desire for possessing things. We already saw uncontaminated desire. We should elevate ourselves to that platform. We elevate in the sense that how much am I uncontaminated? That is also my option or my opportunity. At the same time, the soul can see himself to be transcendental to material existence and always self-effulgent, never fragmented, although very minute in size. Right, so here very nice. It's what the soul actually is the same quality as that of the Lord. The size is different, right? So we are Anu, he is Vibhu, we are infinitesimal, he is infinite. We are drop of water in the ocean, he is the ocean. But qualitatively we are the same. We are spirit souls. We invest in that, then we are eternally transcendental or liberated. In that position of self-realization, by practice of knowledge and renunciation, devotional service, one sees everything in the right perspective. He becomes indifferent to material existence, and the material influence acts less powerfully upon him. Right? So obviously, as we start getting this knowledge, as we start progressing, we automatically become more inclined towards spiritual life. Our material life becomes lesser and lesser. See, whenever we are starting, we are at 1%, 2% spiritual life, 98%, 99% material life. Now we need to keep evaluating ourselves every stage. That's where the offering on of Yaspuja helps, both to Srila Prabhupada and to your spiritual master, saying that, okay, this is what I've done. That means this is what has been my progress in the last 1 year. Now let me go back, because for younger devotees, for the youth boys and so on, we obviously have this sadhana chart. We used to write, we used to do our sadhana charts earlier. Unfortunately, I don't do it today, but that would tell me how am I progressing. Okay, sadhana chart, Rupa Goswami has given these 4 very important elements. Okay, these 8 elements of my chanting obviously being the most important. How much am I reading? Am I having prashadam? Am I doing any kind of a deity worship? Am I doing any other service? Am I doing tulsi parikrama? Whatever it is, a set of things, right? So if you start putting a score, I get it. After every few months, you actually talk to your spiritual authority saying that how much have I progressed? My score was 67, now it is 79. Oh, very nice. Okay, my chanting is either increased or improved that I'm chanting earlier. Okay, I've been eating only prashadam, it's increased from 1 point to 5 point. I'm reading Bhagavatam and also hearing from Srila Prabhupada or the spiritual master. So my hearing also has increased. So that score every 5, 10 score, you will actually see like that. We should actually keep increasing and we should actually keep investing. Perfection in self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path. Can you please tell list, Prabhu, the sadhana chart list? I will tell in a bit, Prabhu. Probably if we have time after we finish off the topic, I'll talk about the sadhana chart in a bit. Perfection self-realization cannot be attained by any other yogi unless he engages in devotional service. So this is glory of devotional service. No other process. We have heard this many times. You've heard this in Bhagavad Gita as well. And whatever process of devotional service, all these are incomplete unless the very important ingredient of bhakti is added. Bhakti means loving devotion. So Srila Prabhupada never says bhakti as devotion. Devotion doesn't exist. I mean, I cannot love my son but do nothing about it, right? So you cannot love the Lord without serving the Lord, right? So devotion means to serve. And as we progress, every other kind of yoga systems, we have achieved perfection by bhakti, element of bhakti. Okay, every learned man knows very well that attachment for material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But the same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. Okay, attachment to devotees against attachment to matter. We have already discussed this, like the Kailash story. I need to understand where my efforts should be put. See, all of us have only 24 hours. And sometimes when we read Prabhupada Lilamrita, when we hear or read about personalities like His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Guru Maharaj, we understand how their 24 hours is used versus how my 24 hours is used. Even some senior Vaishnavas in the temple, in the dham, when you see them, you will see that how regulated, how wonderful their lifestyle is. If I may not be able to do it today, but that inspiration should be, can I do a little more today? Add little more every day, then automatically you will improve. And that's why when we come to temple, we actually see that temple has multiple levels of how I get connected, right? So initially I have a Sudama Seva, at least 100 rupees a month I can contribute. Then we have a Nitya Seva, at least 1,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees a month I can contribute. Okay, then I will help in Mandir Nirman Seva, whatever it is. So just from financial aspects, I see. Same thing with my sadhana. Okay, we have a Shiksha level, one rounder, Shraddhavan, then we have 4 rounds, then I become Krishna Sadhaka, then I become Upasaka, then I become Prabhupada Ashraya, 1, 4, 8, 12, 16. Then I get the Ashraya. That's progressive, right? So we should progress in our spiritual life very, very nicely and smoothly. Couple more shlokas basically talking about the sadhu. So I'll give the fundamental background to this. This talks about Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi. Right? It's a Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Kohe. Every Shastra talks about Sadhu Sangha, and a moment's association makes you a pure devotee. I was planning to tell about Amrish Maharaj's brother's story, how he goes back to Vaikunta, but I'm hoping all of you know. If you don't know, please hear this story. There are different names. His name also starts with Papa, but basically I don't know his actual name. But you can search uh, from you know qualified sites. You can read through the story, or maybe Tirtha Chaitanya Prabhu will cover it in the next class. But what is the biggest benefit we have got is that we have got the association of pure devotees. Okay, take that association very, very seriously. When there is an opportunity, uh, you know, uh, the temple provides really wonderful chances of us hearing from wonderful devotees. We just had Srila Prabhupada disciples coming over. We had very senior Vaishnavas in the moment for years together coming over. So we should take that opportunity, come have their darshan, hear from their sadhu sangha happens through hearing and serving, not through seeing. So come and hear and serve them. Okay, the symptoms of a sadhu are that he's tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he's peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Now, put this into the acharyas, and you will see that all of them wonderfully follow this. And the best part is that they are merciful and they're very friendly. Even when we do mistakes, they scold us, and that scolding is also very nice. Very recently, I think last Sunday, I got a scolding from Bhakti Brihad Bhagavatam Maharaj saying that you people are so, I mean, he was telling me because it was my service. He said, you people are so unorganized. I don't work like this. I'm a little more organized. You should have given me yesterday. He came on a Saturday morning. I met him on, sorry, he came on a Sunday morning for a class. But on Saturday night, I was talking to him. I told him, we will give all this to you before your Sunday class. And then I kept it ready according to me. But he said, you should have given it to me on Saturday, not on a Sunday morning, a few minutes before my class. I said, okay. Chastisement of bhakta is chastisement of such a pure devotee is also a nice opportunity for us to progress. Purport is wonderful. I knew I had taken a lot of topic today, but please read through the purport. Such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within the world. Is sadhu. So he's not worried about his home, his comforts, his family, and everything, right? So his life is what? Life is for the benefit of everyone else. Like what Srila Prabhupada did at one time, he decided, okay, now I'm old enough to renounce. That was at 50. Then he decided, even this comfort of fridge, I will renounce because I need to bring in suffering souls at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Okay, last shloka for the day. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. What is the activity of a sadhu? Is always engaged in the pastimes of the Lord. So how do I know? Am I progressing? So I was just hearing, not sure if it was Sarvabhaum Prabhu or Sarvabhaum Prabhu or another senior Vaishnava, but when you're chanting, what goes through your mind? I think it was his Sundar Shah Prabhu, one of them, in a very recent class in the last 1 month. They said that one of the things that you will know you're progressing is when you're chanting, what runs in your mind? Is it material thoughts? Is it the fundamental that I'm able to hear about the Lord? Is it at that level? I'm hearing the holy name of the Lord. I'm telling Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I'm hearing to those words. I'm getting a little beyond just the Shabda. I'm getting into the Leela of the Guna of the Lord. I'm able to talk about, oh, so merciful is the Lord. By the mercy of the Lord, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I'm able to do this. Oh, Gauranga is so much merciful. Nityananda was even more merciful. Srila Prabhupada is even more merciful. I'm talking about that guna or the guna set of gunas. Or even further, I get into the leelas of the Lord. I'm able to chant sincerely, focusing only on the chanting, but automatically the leelas of the Lord get. I've been hearing about Damodar Leela, so Damodar Leela gets in. This is Kartik month, or I'm hearing about the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Leela. This is the Gaurabda beginning. So like that, we keep hearing Ram Navami happened. So many wonderful classes we heard. We did Shavanotsav for Gaur Purnima. Whenever we keep hearing more, these things come. I should not say that, okay, today I'm chanting, I'm going to think about this particular Leela. How Lord lifted Govardhan Leela. This is my, no, focus is on chanting. Automatically the gunas and the Leelas automatically get into our head. Okay, so our chanting is our yardstick to measure if we are successful, if you're progressing or not progressing. I know I'm just on time. I had one question. Prabhu, I'll keep it very simple. Their sadhana chart talks about the different scores that you get while doing your sadhana. There are important sadhanas that are listed by Srila Rupa Goswami's 64 elements of progress. So it talks about your chanting, at what time you're chanting. So any chanting before 7 a.m., you get a certain score. Between 7 and 8 a.m., 8 to 10 a.m., you get higher scores, 4 marks, 3 marks, 2 marks for every round that you do. After 10 a.m., it's 1 mark. Yesterday, I saw, I was here talking to a new youth boy. Their sadhana chart has a negative marking after when you do after 10 p.m. or something. So that is your sadhana for chanting. Then a minimum of 30 minutes of hearing, minimum of 15 minutes of hearing every day gives you a certain score, 5 marks. 30 minutes and above gives you 10 marks. Same thing with reading uh, Prabhupada books, making it very clear. Usually reading Srila Prabhupada books gives you 5 marks for 15 minutes, 10 marks for more than that. Then your eating habits, are you eating only prashadam? Are you taking at least prashadam? So 1 mark for only at least prashadam, 5 marks for only prashadam through the day. Then comes your deity related services, your Tulsi Parikrama, your attending Mangalarti gives you 5 marks. If you water Tulsi and do Parikrama, that gives you 5 marks. Any other deity related services, so Mataji's cooking service, deity dressing at home or at temple, and so on, there is a certain score to it. Deity services. What did I miss? Deity related services are covered. Eating prasadam, did I tell? Yes, I have told. So this is basically your sadhana chart, if I'm right. So there are different classes. 60 marks is D, 70 marks is C, uh, 80 is B, or 85 is B, 100 is A. Sorry, 95 is, or 90 or 95 is A, and 100 is an A plus. And we should target for A plus score. Not very difficult. 16 rounds before 7 a.m. gives you 64 marks. Chanting and reading gives you 20 marks if you do it 30 minutes at least. That takes it to 84. This is your bare minimum. Any kind of deity service, at least Tulsi Parikrama or waking up for Mangalarti gives you 5 plus 5. That's another 10 mark. That's on 94. Then eating only prasadam gives you 5. That's 99. And that's where we said that we'll at least chant 1 round extra every day to get to 100. So that's the minimum sadhana that we should do. I have the sadhana chart template. If any devotee is interested, you can ask me, or you can ask Sri Hari Prabhu. I'll forward it to him. He can probably share it. Okay, I know we have just a couple of minutes over. So Sri Hari Prabhu, I'll forward. Please drop me a WhatsApp. Right now it's my chanting time, so I should chant, right? So we have stopped the class. Devotees can drop off. Thank you so much for attending. Any devotee has any question or anything to comment, I'm available for another few minutes if Sri Hari Prabhu is okay.
Sure, Prabhu, we can take a question. If anybody has a question, we can take one question if anybody has.
Okay, I see no questions. Grantraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much all for attending. Please continue. Thank you for taking care of this wonderful service, Sri Hari Prabhu. It's always nice. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. There's some comment here. Muchukunda Ambarish brother. What is that? I didn't get that, sorry. Kalyani Mataji.
Now, this suddenly
Not-
came to my mind whether I don't know whether I'm right. Is Muchukunda Ambarish's brother?
No, he's not.
Okay. Sorry.
His
Then
name
I have
is
to look back.
Paparaj. He's a, yes, Mataji.
I have to look up.
You can look up for that story, or probably Sri Hari Prabhu will cover in one of the classes.
Thank
And
you.
these
Thank you.
topics are never ending. So any other topic on Sadhu Sangha, I'll probably speak about it as well. So very nice pastime. It needs to be given its own time. You should not do it in a hurry. Okay.
Sure,
Yes.
sure.
Thank you all for
Prabhuji.
attending. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.